Yes, my friends, it is finally time. In this video, we're going to discover the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. We're talking about the biggest and most expensive Samsung phone in the 2024 lineup. A phone that has bleeding edge technologies and a bleeding your wallet price. We're going to take it out of the box, review all of its components, and put it against different phones from the competition to find out if it's really worth it. As you can see, the box it comes in is fairly simple, and it is also fairly small, which is unfortunately the case with pretty much every phone box in 2024. When you open it up, you first find the S24 Ultra covered with a protective plastic sheet, a USB-C to USB-C cable, and the typical instructions and manuals that explain how to use the phone. Unfortunately, we get no headphones and no wall brick, which is kind of funny because Samsung is promoting, alongside the S24 Ultra, their new 45-watt fast charger that gets the phone from 0 to 100 in less than an hour. If you want to buy that charger, you're going to have to get it separately. It doesn't come included in the box because Samsung says putting it in the box would be bad for the environment. Come on, Samsung, it is bad for your bank account. You're not fooling anyone here. The only way you can get it for free is if you buy the phone through the Amazon link that I left in the description, mainly because it is cheaper than in other websites, so you can use the leftover money to get the fast charger. If at the end of the video you want to get the phone, remember to click the link. As you can see, my unit has the new titanium color, which is basically a golden gray tint. Kind of dirty, I would say, in that, in my opinion, doesn't look as good as the light gray on the base S24. But if you don't like it, you can also get it in yellow, black, or purple. As it's been the case for the past couple years, this phone is very well built, with simple but elegant lines, and of course, insanely high-end materials, worthy of a flagship phone. It has titanium on the side frames, which is a first for Samsung, and glass in the front and back panels. As you can see, the design is almost identical to the one on the S23 Ultra, with only one small difference, which is that the S24 now has slightly flatter sides, which, sure, it's not a big deal, and if you put a case on the phone, it just disappears. It's not noticeable, but I thought I would let you know. It is not exactly the same design. The only thing that I didn't like about it was that the volume buttons are located in the top right corner of the phone, and therefore they are completely unreachable when you're using the phone with one hand. Then when it comes to the internal components, it obviously has the best of the best, the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 optimized for Samsung. Pay close attention, my friends. This is not the normal Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 like on the rest of the high-end phones. It has a version of this processor customized to get the most out of the phone. So of course, it is as fast as it gets on the Android game. It even ties up to the A17 Pro from Apple in a Geekbench test, which right now is the king of the hill. When it comes to my personal experience with the phone, it has been impeccable. It loads up every app and game in no time, and they all run like butter through a hot pan. I even decided to compare it against the iPhone 15 Pro, which is technically in the same top tier phone level, and the S24 Ultra won the test. On average, it did open apps a little bit faster than the iPhone, even if it was for a couple milliseconds. It is a win. The S24 Ultra is probably the fastest phone on the planet. The only thing it lacks is a decent game catalog, like the one we can find on the new iPhones, because sure, Genshin Impact and Call of Duty are great games, but Android still needs a lot of improvements to compete against a gaming console. If you think about it, it's kind of a shame. It's like 100 times more powerful than a Nintendo Switch, but it only has 1% of the game catalog. Please, Samsung, do something about it. What I did like about this phone, of course, are all of the new AI features it brings. As many of you know, we are in the middle of an AI revolution, and every year there are exponential changes happening in this field. So Samsung, as they should, decided to hop right into the AI bandwagon. With the new S24, we're going to be able to circle anything on the screen, and the phone will do an AI search and tell us exactly what it is we're looking at and where to buy it. We're going to be able to eliminate objects from any any photo by simply touching those objects. We're going to be able to move those objects around the image as we please. And even better, we're going to be able to live translate a call to any language we want. Something that I know we could already see on the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro last year, but Samsung is taking it to the next level. If you're a geek like me, you will agree this is an exciting time to be alive. But anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the battery life, another very strong point on this phone. As you can see, I ran a very intense drain test on it, and it gave me more than 9 hours of screen on time, which is absolutely insane. It is more than enough for 100% of people. And I would even say that for those of you who just do basic things with the phone, it will easily get up to 2 days of use without touching a charger. But funny enough, it was actually 20 minutes worse than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So yeah, technically all of you Apple fans can say that Apple beats Samsung in battery life. And well, as it's been the case for a long time now, we can do wireless charging, we can do reverse wireless charging, which is actually turned off by default, and you have to activate it in the settings every time you want to use it. And obviously, we also have fast charging up to 45 watts. Remember, get the phone through the link in the description, save a couple bucks, and use those bucks to get the 45-watt wall brick. But not yet, because we have to keep going. Let's talk about the display, another very strong component on these phones. In this case, it has everything, and everything is everything. 120 Hz LTPO panel, a top-tier OLED display with 2600 nits of brightness, and extremely thin frames. The only bad thing I can say about the display on the S24 Ultra is that it's absolutely massive. It has a 6.8-inch display with absolutely no compromises in favor of ergonomics. For a 5'11" person like me, it is very complicated to use with one hand, and I can only assume that anyone shorter is going to have an even tougher time with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not something bad necessarily. A lot of people want a big display, even if it means losing some versatility and ease of use, but it is something you should keep in mind. This is not a compact phone you can use while walking and doing something else with your other hand. This is a small tablet, a two-handed device. And of course, we also have to talk about the cameras, probably the most important component on any phone in 2024. And well, in the case of the S24 Ultra, this is probably the most impressive component on the phone. Well, components, because there's multiple cameras. I'm recording 4K video at 30 FPS right now, and maybe it's not as good as a professional video camera, but it is damn near close. Like, this is incredible selfie video. For anybody trying to make TikToks or YouTube videos, this is as good as a $1,500 vlogging camera you could buy at a different store. Yes, it doesn't have interchangeable lenses like that other camera would, but the quality is pretty identical. So like, video quality on the S24 Ultra is very impressive. But anyways, more specifically, we get 4 cameras on the back of this phone. We get a main sensor with 200 megapixels, the one you were looking at right now. We get a 3x telephoto camera with 10 megapixels, a 5x telephoto camera with 50 megapixels, and we get an ultra-wide camera with 12 megapixels. As always, let's begin by talking about the main sensor, the main camera. We have a behemoth 200 megapixel sensor with insanely high-end optics. I don't want to dare to say these are the best photos you can take with any phone in 2024, but it is up there. Technically, it doesn't differ that much from what we could see on the S23 Ultra, but because of this new AI processing engines and algorithms Samsung uses to improve photos after you've taken them, we can see insanely good results, both when it comes to exposure, color, sharpness, dynamic range. Everything feels very, very, very high-end. The only thing that I feel the need to clarify is that this is not because the camera has 200 megapixels. All of the photos you've seen have been taken in the 12 megapixel photo mode, because the more megapixels, the smaller the pixels, the less light comes in, and the more light you need to take advantage out of those more megapixels. So in practice, you could only take advantage out of 200 megapixels with perfect lighting conditions. Then we have a 3x telephoto camera, which is very stupid in my opinion because it has considerably lower quality than the rest of the cameras on the S24 Ultra, so most people are not even going to use it. And because we also have a 5x telephoto camera that is not only way better than the 3x telephoto camera, it actually serves a better purpose most of the time you're using it. Because if you want to take a picture at something that's far away, most of the time you're going to take as much zoom as you can get. So a 5x is more convenient than a 3x. And if you want to take a picture at something that's up close, you're most of the time going to use the main camera. So that 3x telephoto is kind of in this middle ground where most of the time, and I can tell you from experience, you're not going to want to use it. And of course, we also get an ultra wide camera, which is a very good ultra wide camera, by the way. Without being as good as the main sensor, it is surprisingly close. We get a lot of detail, we get very, very good dynamic range, a lot of sharpness, and even though we still see a little bit of distortion on the side edges, it is way less than it used to be a couple of years ago. And then of course, we get a bunch of video features on the camera of this phone. We can do 8K video recording, which even though sure it is not useful for the most part because the sensor is very small, so we don't really take advantage of that higher resolution. When you're making a video at broad daylight and you do have enough light, you can notice a sharper image and a better looking video. So that's great. We can also do, for the first time now, 4K video up to 120 FPS, meaning 4K slow-mo video, which is just incredibly pleasing to look at because not only it's smooth and slow, but it is high resolution. So yeah, the combination of those two things makes an insanely attractive and appealing video. And of course, I also have to talk about the selfie camera, which, without being as impressive as the other cameras because it's a little bit smaller, it is pretty good too. I mean, I'm recording 4K video with it. It's incredibly sharp. Maybe we don't get as much background blur because of the tiny sensor. We don't get as much dynamic range, but for like a normal TikTok, for a normal, even a YouTube vlog, this is more than enough. It's sharp. It's what people want. The only thing you have to take care of is the audio. You don't ideally want to make a video with when your neighbor's mowing the lawn because the audio is going to get ruined. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry. Anyways, I don't want to get off topic. Video quality using the selfie camera is amazing. Probably the best selfie camera on any phone in 2024. The only thing left is to give you a conclusion. Is the S24 Ultra worth it? Well, yes. I mean, it is worth it. It is the best phone you can buy right now. So if you have a ton of money and you want to get the best of the best, this is the best of the best. The best cameras, the best display, the best processor, the best battery life. And as I said earlier, you can get it at an amazing price clicking the link that I left in the description for Amazon. Now that the video is about to end, I recommend you go take a look.